you to the table. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a lot. I'm all spread out here. I've got several things I want to show you. We're going to talk about the end times war. We're going to talk about this book that I've just gotten that I want to recommend to you all. I've also got these little cards that I want to recommend to you all. Anything that I use that draws me closer to the Lord, I always just want to put it out there for you to get because we forget. So, first of all, we want to give you an update. Kind of like Lisa and I started a Saturday morning group. There are now 12 women. There's 13 women who have attended. There's only 12 that are still attending. And I mean, it's so good. It's so good. And everyone in the group is like, I've never been a part of a group like this.
Well, just looking back, how many times have we tried to start this?
We've tried to start groups.
And nobody would show up, or they'd show up once or twice, and then there was nobody showing up again. And so,
I mean, we're talking all week long. We have a text, and it's everybody talking all week long and praying all week long. And I wanted to kind of show you another little thing that I went to the Peddler's Mall. And it was when I went Saturday, some of the ladies handed me just an envelope. And I thought that's a great idea too, because I had showed the big long pad or whatever. These are thank you cards, but I mean, it don't matter what's on the front of them because you aren't looking on the front. But we put their name and then we just pray all week long for them. And then you put it in there and you hand it to that person and they have the prayers that you've prayed all week long. It's so good. Mm-hmm. And it started by like, our pastor said that we were talking about revival, and he said two women or a little girl sat down on a little bench and started praying for people, and then two older ladies got wind of what she was doing and they joined, and that started a great revival. And those were 3 women, and so now we have 12 women that are doing it. And so I do believe revival's coming, and we'll get a little bit more into that too. Kind of like I believe we are going into a spiritual revival. Not just for the church, but I've been reading that the people in Iran are crying out for the name of Jesus. They're turning to God first, because God's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. They know what prophecy is. They know what the rumors are. And then when they see God supernaturally do the people in Iran aren't bad. It's the regime in Iran,
The radicals.
And so there's underground churches and there's people. And I was even listening to Jack Hibbs on the way here. He is having Jewish ministers and everybody calling and saying, tell me what is going on. And he says, I am witnessing more now to more Jews than I ever have in my life. And they are turning their life over to Jesus.
And he even said that he knows he has Jews that are coming to his services.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. And that's what we want. We don't want to be so big on Israel. I mean, we support Israel, but we also understand that there are souls in Iran who God loves too, and so that's what we're wanting. We're wanting whatever's going on over there to push everybody to Jesus, to Yeshua, because that's the whole reason for what's going on over there.
Exactly.
So, we'll talk about the wars. So we found David Reagan this is what he's been doing for a very long time.
He's even been to our church.
Yeah. I didn't get to meet him. Did you get to meet him or hear him or anything?
I did hear him, but
I didn't get to see him in real life. I was sad, but hopefully he'll come back. And I met with Pastor Lee Tuesday, and he was like, I'm thinking about having David Reagan back, but the Lord will probably be back before he actually really comes, just because things are happening so fast. So let's talk about the 9 wars. I didn't know that there were 9 wars.
Yeah, most people only think about Armageddon
and Gog and Magog. And these 9 wars are after the church is gone. Mm-hmm. Like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? And so we learned this in Sunday school because we're in a prophecy Sunday school class at Grace Bible, and I'm so thankful for it.
Me too.
For 2 years we've been talking about it. I mean, we've talked about it on here quite a bit. I'm like, prophecy. And we literally are sitting with our jaws on the table when we're hearing all the supernatural stuff that is going on over there, all the things that we've been talking about.
Just trying to wrap your head around it.
You're like, oh my gosh, it really happened. Like you just can't believe it. And that's what people are seeing over there that's making them change. Our mouths are down, but so are their mouth. They're like, oh my gosh, God is doing something.
Yeah. You can't help but, and we sit in our Bibles or our Sunday school, and we're just like, Israel is just this. They say it's the size of New Jersey.
Yeah,
it's just a baby. And all these surrounding countries are just wanting to like.
And they have almost overtaken one big, huge country, and it's because of God. It's not because of Israel.
I didn't realize how many U.S. military bases we have around Iran.
Right. Yep. I'm learning a lot, and it's just, and I love it. I can't wait to hear what's going on. Like one day you hear this, next day it's something totally different. I think the funniest thing, I don't know if we talked about this last week or we just talked about it this week, where they were talking about the missile. Did we talk about that last week?
I don't think so.
Where it's like that, what is that thing that they throw them, terrorists always put those big old, what are they?
I don't know.
They're rockets. And so they put them on their shoulder and they shoot out that big rocket. Well, there was a clip where the guy stuck the rocket on there and he shot it and it missed its target. But part of the missile that went up came back and fell.
Talked about that in Sunday school.
Straight on the guy who did it and killed him. No one else was injured except the guy who shot the rocket. I mean, like that.
Well, there was even a video that I saw where this, I don't know what nationality he was, but he was blaspheming the Lord, and he dropped dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is just a great time to be alive. So, the first war. Let's talk about the first war. First of all, let's talk about why Iran and why Israel, because I think that is like confusing. And Iran has just now stepped up to the plate, and Russia, people that weren't really, I mean, Iran and Israel have been for a very long time, but Iran has been like stepping over boundaries. Like they've drawn a line for Iran, and I kind of got the I'm going to do kind of this, and then I'm going to let you go over all the wars. Okay. But this is prophecy that's being fulfilled. And so what has Iran done? Iran crossed several lines. In 2002 to 2009, they started their secret nuclear sites. And they were put on warning by the whole world. It wasn't just by the United States. In 2006 to 2010, the enrichment of uranium reached beyond a peaceful amount. So Bush warned the whole the world, that their uranium that they were had was nuclear, and it wasn't safe. And so right now they're just one step away from having a weapon grade nuclear capacity to wipe out all of Israel, and that's all they want to do. It's all about the Jews. All the time. It's all about the Jews. Egypt was all about the Jews. The Nazi stuff was all about the Jews. Everything is about taking out the Jews. And so what I learned this past week was that the Arabs and the Jews both, they became at the same time. And so, that's through Ishmael and Hagar, Abraham's servant girl. And then you have Isaac, who the prophecy is through Abraham and Isaac. And so that's why they clashed. It's because God said, no, I'm not going to go through. And like he did still love Ishmael, because I mean, I'm going to read a verse that says he still loved Ishmael. And he said, he heard him cry. And he said, I'm going to make you a great nation. And that's the great nation that we're fighting against Israel. But it's always been to take away the Jews. So there's 140 million Arabs, Muslims, and there's 14 million Jews. That shows you how much they've been persecuted over our lifetime. And it is they don't want to share the Jews. They hate I can't imagine hating someone so much that you want to take. It's like if we hated another race and we just wanted to annihilate everybody. Like we didn't like all the Chinese people, so we wanted to take all the Chinese people off the face of the earth. That's exactly what they want to do. That's racism. It's racism. Nobody's screaming that, Yeah. So anyway, that's basically the background, is the fact that it's been since the beginning. And what is funny that I learned about was Esther was in Persia. That's modern day Iran. Remember Esther of the Bible? And then there was Haman, he was on the court of the Iranian court. It was Persia, now it's Iran. And he wanted to obliterate the Jews. And what did she have to do? She had to go save them. So even in Esther's time, she lived in Iran. And that's where the book of Esther was written, was in Iran.
I didn't know that.
So amazing that they've been doing this since the beginning. And so All right. So the first war. What do they talk about with the first war?
It's the Psalm 83 war, the war of annihilation. And this one is when Dr. Reagan was talking about, he wasn't sure if this one will occur. This is a war with Israel and its surrounding neighbors with a common border. It occurred in Bible times.
Some people say it occurred in Bible times.
Yeah.
And then some people say that
I got the views of some people.
Mm-hmm.
They say it's not prophecy at all. It's lament. And then they say, some people say it occurred in Bible times. Some people say it occurred in 1967 in the 6-Day War. And then some people are saying that it's a future war that'll occur.
Which I think that's what it is.
Will cause the Arab nations to turn to Russia.
Which I think that's what we're doing right now. Because he did say that these people that are in this war of annihilation, the Psalm 83, they're not mentioned in the next war, which is Gog and Magog. So they're not even mentioned in that one.
Something that I wrote down about Gog and Magog today. I don't know where it's at.
Another thing they said that was amazing was out of all the 6,000 years that we have been on this planet, we have only been at peace for 268 years. David Reagan figured that out. Out of all the wars, there's been a war going on somewhere.
He said there's been 10,624 battles in the history of mankind. 50,000 battles include Africa and Europe, and we had 268 years of peace.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh, back to Gog and Magog. Gog, he's what I was reading or listening to someone, maybe it was Mark Driscoll. Gog is the title of the leader of the north, and Magog is the land.
Mm-hmm. So Russia. So right now, it's Putin and like Russia, and no one could ever figure out how is Russia going to get involved because they've never been. Yeah. Never had a problem. And the Bible says, hold on, I listen to sermons and then I write these little things down on a piece of paper so I can share them.
Can you tell she's excited?
I am so excited. So, let me see right here. We're talking about, it says that he will put a hook in Gog's mouth. Yeah. And, he will be I think Russia will just be the supplier that's what he was talking about in here, but he will put a hook in the jaw of Gog and basically draw him to the war. And if you look at what some of the words mean in Hebrew and stuff, it just means a supplier. So it could be that they're just supplying weapons to whoever's involved in the Gog and Magog. Also, they have found that China has been secretly sending planes to Iran. Yeah. So that's pretty much, they're running out of...
And I did hear somewhere that Russia had relationships with Iran for whatever reason.
But it's not ever been against Israel. And now it's all coming against the U.S. They're like telling the U.S., don't you get involved. Mm-hmm. That's what he's saying. Putin's warning, don't get involved. And I don't think we really... It's really weird with these 9 wars because everybody don't know. You don't know. Like, you just read Ezekiel 38 or you read this and you're trying to figure out what in the world, who it's talking about and stuff like that.
I know Jesse said in Sunday school that he thinks that we're in Zechariah 12.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But.
All right. So after the next one is the Gog and Magog war.
Yeah. And this is Russia against Israel. Mm-hmm. And
it's Ezekiel 38 and 39 if you want to read that, which I recommend going and reading these.
Yeah. And then there's a big debate on whether this war will actually occur. And Dave Reagan said some believe this will happen mid-trib. The majority now believe it'll happen between the rapture and the beginning of the tribulation.
So as soon as the rapture happens, you don't go straight into the tribulation. There will be a period of time. We don't know how long. We don't know if it'll be weeks, months, years, whatever. But I think right now we're getting set up for everything. We're getting set into place for the rapture to happen. We don't have to wait on anything for the rapture to happen because Jesus can come at any time. And so these are just the wars that are going to take place. Especially the Gog and Magog war. We won't see it. We will be gone. And so all of these wars will be what transpires through the seals, like the seals war. I didn't realize that these are mainly wars that we're talking about. So okay, so then after Gog and Magog,
seal judgments, which are what he also named World War III or the Tribulation Conventional War.
Oh wait, let's go back to the Gog and Magog.
Okay.
He says this is when the Antichrist will rise to power, and he will have wisdom, and he'll want to take over the world. So during the Gog and Magog war, wherever, and there will be a lot of nations that will be conquered, because he said something about Europe, Africa, and Asia. They have fought for 200 years to come out of being ruled by somebody, and they are not going to go back under the rule of the Antichrist. And so it says that they will pretty much have to be conquered. So there's going to be obviously a lot of weapons, and he says Israel will gather the weapons and use them for fuel for 7 years. God will defeat.
Not the IDF.
Right. Not the IDF and the Gog and the Magog. God will defeat this war. He will be the one. And then they will use the weapons for fuel for 7 years. He also says that God will send the fire back on them, and a ninth of the army will be left alive. He says this will be kind of like a nuclear kind of, maybe not as big, but it will be bad. So, all right.
Okay.
And then seal judgments.
Seal judgments, which is considered World War III.
I always have a hard time saying World War III. Yeah.
World War III and the Tribulation Conventional War. This is when the Antichrist launches his attacks to take over the world. He said that he believes this is when God judges the Muslims.
World,
I can't read my writing again. With wars in the Middle East. And so I wrote down that there's the largest Muslim cultures are in Indonesia is number one, and then number two is India.
Yeah, I had some girl on my TikTok today.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, my TikTok, she was like, there's not even Arabs in Iran. And I'm like, honey, I think you need to go back and do a little bit more study in there, you know, like, because it's not the biggest Arab nation. It is in a lot of Arabs. Like you said, there's others that are bigger, but there is, and so they'll have God's judgment by the wrath that's coming.
Yeah, and he also said the Muslims will never accept the European leader,
which is the Antichrist.
And so he will have to conquer the Muslims.
He will, because they'll never accept him.
Yeah, as well as the rest of the world.
Yeah,
so.
And the crazy thing about it, during this war, a fourth will die. Okay, and so he explains there's 7 billion people on this earth. If 1 billion are taken away in the rapture, that leaves 6 billion. That means that there'll be 1.5 billion people dead in this war right here.
Yeah,
blows my mind. All right, so we're down 1 billion people with the rapture. We're down 1.5 billion with this war. All right, let's go to War 4.
And he said it's a continuation of World War III. And so it morphs into a nuclear war. And then he references Revelation 8, and it says a third of the earth will burn up.
Yep.
A third of humanity is killed in this particular war. And by the mid-tribulation, there will have been 3 billion deaths. So that's on top of...
You know, right now we call our friend, we're like, you think we're in the tribulation? Like, you ain't gonna have to call nobody.
Yeah.
Because 3 billion people are gonna be dead. You know, you're not gonna have to call nobody. You're gonna know you were in the tribulation.
And then we won't be here.
And we won't be here.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes. And I have had a lot of people, you know, when I'm talking about these wars, they're like, oh, not yet. I've still got loved ones. And I'll go into that a little bit after we get through these wars. Okay. Number 5.
The war in the heavens. And so this is Revelation 12, when Satan tries one last time to take God's throne in heaven. And so this is where Michael and the angels fight Satan, and then Satan's thrown to the earth.
Mm-hmm. So he's already been, there was already a war in heaven when Satan tried to dethrone God. You know, Michael threw him out, but he still has access. You know, he still gets to go in front of God and accuse you and accuse me. And, you know... I
just think that's the craziest thing.
It is.
And just, like, a few months ago, we learned, like, it blew our minds because we're always taught Satan fell. And so you don't think it's happening in Revelation at the end.
Right,
like,
right.
You know, so.
Yeah. So he did fall. He is roaming the earth. He is looking for people to devour. He is doing all that. But he gets to go right back up to that throne room. So he will be thrown out for good. And he will be mad. I mean, mad. And so when they throw him from heaven, this is where they say he will possess the Antichrist. Yeah. And immediately, he's so mad that he's thrown out of heaven.
And he referenced how Satan went into Judas. So it'll be like the same thing. So it would
just like the same thing. Satan went into Judas to do what he needed to do. He will possess the Antichrist, and it will go straight into the next war, which is where he tries to take out all the Jews. And that's where everybody runs. You know, in the Bible you hear people running and going to Jordan to hide. Yeah. That's what's so crazy, is that you read all this stuff and then you look at these wars and you're like...
Well, and the other thing that's so crazy is, he said in Revelation 12:12, when Satan's cast down to earth, it says he knows his time is short. Mm-hmm. So then he knows Bible prophecy. So why... What? He's just the father of lies, and he's bought into his own lies and delusion. Yeah. Pride. To think that he can overthrow our Lord and Savior.
He never fights God. Michael kicks his butt every time. So, like, you know, Satan's been working out thinking, okay, I got him this time, you know. Yeah. No, he don't. He gets thrown out. He's mad, and then he wants to destroy, probably the maddest he's ever been, I would say, when he's thrown out.
And then this is the only war that takes place in the heavens.
Mm-hmm. So this is the only non-earth war that we're talking about. But he comes to earth, and then the next one
is number 6. Mm-hmm. And so this is the war on the Jewish people. So in Revelation 12, it says he tries to annihilate... Excuse me.
Okay, yeah. So we've got the Jews running, and he is trying to destroy... He turns on the Jews, because remember, he's peaceful and he's for them. So he's going to go into and try to destroy the Jews. They're going to flee, run to Jordan, but he goes after them.
He just went over that the Arab descendants were of Ishmael, Jews descendants were of Isaac, and there's 400 million Arabs today. And what you already said, 414 million Jews today is evidence of their persecution throughout history.
Do you have the verse that says that you will become few? What is that verse? It says... It's very prophesied. I can look it up real quick.
I think it's Leviticus.
Yeah, it is. He tells the Jews in Leviticus that your numbers will become few among them. And that's basically, 14 million versus 140 million. That's few,
It says, if you walk in my statutes, keep my commandments so as to carry them out, then I shall give you rains in their season, so that the land will yield its produce, and the trees of the field will bear their fruit. Indeed, your threshing will last for you until grape gathering, and grape gathering will last until sowing time.
No, I think that's it. Let me look it up. Okay, go on to the next one, and I'll...
3 points he made about Satan hating the Jews. And he hates them because God gave the Bible through them. And then he gave the Messiah through them. They are God's chosen people. And then he announced that he is determined to bring a great remnant to salvation, and Satan doesn't want to see any Jew saved. And then one of the other guys mentioned that Satan, he's the father of lies, and so he's trying to make God out to be a liar by trying to thwart anything that God has said through the Bible and prophecy.
All right, go on to the next one.
Okay, so that is War 7. Mm-hmm. And so this is the Antichrist Middle East War. And so this is spoken about in Daniel 11. And so after the Antichrist takes over Jerusalem and drives the Jews out to their hiding place in Jordan, which will probably be Petra.
So one thing about that is that he can go everywhere. God allows the Antichrist to go everywhere except Petra. That's why they're protected. That blows my mind. Here it is, Deuteronomy 4:27. The Lord will scatter you. He's talking to the Jews. The Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and only a few of you will survive among the nations to which the Lord will drive you. I mean, it's amazing. He says he does what he says, and that's why it's just right now people are reading it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is true, and they're turning their life over.
And then Satan then retreats to his headquarters in Rome and settles into his reign. And then what happens at the end of the tribulation is a tremendous revolt in the Middle East against him. And
everybody's going to turn. I always thought the Armageddon war was all the nations waiting on Jesus, and that's not what it was. I did not know the real what the real battle was. So everybody's going to turn on the Antichrist.
So the Jews are going to come back and revolt against him, or they're going to come back into Jerusalem and revolt. And then he launches a major invasion of the Middle East, and this is described in Daniel 11. And then he conquers down through the Middle East, but is not allowed to go into Jordan because that's where many Jews are hiding. And then,
isn't that crazy? He's not allowed to go into Jordan. I love it.
He hears rumors of an army coming in the east, and then starts retreating from Egypt. And then he leaves some of his military in Jerusalem to surround the city. He goes to the valley of Armageddon and gathers a huge army and waits for those armies coming from the east. And then they rebel against him. And at that point, Jesus breaks from
Isn't that crazy? So you got a big, huge battle going on. You got the Antichrist and his army, and then you got the battle from the east, the kings or whoever from the east that are coming, because they always say that the Euphrates River will dry up to let them in. And as they are fighting, Jesus comes and handles it.
Yes.
And that's the most beautiful part, with just a word. And I don't know what that's going to look like or anything like that, but whatever it is, there is blood 4 feet deep for 200 miles.
Comes up to the bridle of the horses. Yeah.
And then he calls, then the angels call for the birds to come and eat all the flesh. And then that's when we go on into the Millennial kingdom. And there's nobody that is a non-believer that makes it into the 1,000-year reign. So if you don't believe in Jesus, you die. There will be people, the tribulation saints will make it into the new kingdom, the 1,000-year reign, and they'll repopulate the earth.
That's what I was going to say, because I learned that from when you had taught me that.
Yeah.
Is that's how sin will still be in the world.
Sin will still be in the world, because there'll be people with normal bodies like us. Well, we'll have glorified bodies because we'll come back with Jesus. But we will rule and we will reign.
Yeah.
The people who are just normal. Like, we will rule and reign, and everything will be pretty good. I mean, literally, 100 won't be an old age, and nobody really will die, except unless they're wicked. And then Satan will be loosed for just a little bit, and he will deceive the world again, and there will be another battle. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's that last battle.
And so this is the Battle of Armageddon. So you can find that in Joel 3, Zechariah 14, and Revelation 19. And the Battle of Armageddon doesn't happen because Jesus returns to the Mount of Olives. So that was, I thought there was going to be a battle, but it doesn't really happen because Jesus comes back, puts his feet on the Mount of Olives, and then it splits in two. And then Jesus speaks a supernatural word. And he said, keep in mind, he spoke and the whole world came into existence. And then the people's skin drops from their bodies.
I believe it'll be some type of nuclear. Yeah, nuclear.
Yeah, the only thing left is their blood, and it splatters the horses as high as a bridle for 200 miles. We'll get to see this because we're coming back with him. And then that ushers in the Millennial kingdom, and he floods the earth with peace, righteousness, and justice. And at the end of that millennium, there's another war.
Yeah. The second part to Gog and Magog. And it's in the same region of people. So, when we think about how things are going to be, because I think sometimes we just can't, our minds can't understand it. Like, there's going to be horses. There's going to be, we're going to live on this earth. The people are going to have sex. They're going to repopulate the earth. Do you understand that? We are going to live just as we're living now. We'll be in a glorified body. But they won't be. They'll be living just like us. There'll be marriages. There'll be everything. But we'll be in power. It's so hard to... We'll
be the saints.
Yes. It's so hard to understand that, And then the Great White Judgment is not until the end of the 1,000 years. After
and that's when we get the new heaven and the new earth.
That's when you get the new heaven and the new earth. So we still got a long way to go. I'm ready to go on to the next phase.
Yeah.
I'm done with this phase. Lord, I'm ready for you to come on to the next phase. So there's just so much going on, and it's so hard if you don't understand the. Right now, we're just waiting on the rapture because all this stuff happens after the church.
Yeah.
So everything's just being set up for all of this, and it's just great. I heard Candace Owens. I'm kind of not good with her right now. I don't know what's happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to her. But
And Tucker.
So you got Tucker Carlson who interviewed Ted Cruz. And here's the problem, church. I'm going to mention. You don't know your Bible, and so you make us look stupid when you're interviewed.
I didn't watch the
and so Ted Cruz claims to be a Christian. And he was like, what he's asking about Israel. And so, like, Ted Cruz don't know any questions. He's a Christian. He doesn't know why he supports Israel. And then here comes Candace, and she's saying, the Bible does not say support Israel.
And then Tucker on that interview was like, okay, what does Israel mean? Mm-hmm. Is it the land? Is it the people?
And Ted couldn't answer.
Is it not everyone are Jews? So, yeah.
It was a lot. And so, like, I encourage you, because people are going to start asking questions, like, why do you support Israel? And so, like, I don't just support Israel. I'm praising the Lord for the Iranians that are going, it's this, but God's name is on Israel. God's eye is on it. That's the apple of his eye. And so, like, it says, if you go against them, you'll be cursed.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're not living in the right way. They don't accept Jesus. They are stubborn and stiff-necked. You don't agree with what you're praying for peace for Israel because you know that God, what all God is doing right now is showing himself.
Yeah.
And he has to do this because they're so stubborn. So
he's setting the stage.
He is. So I encourage you to get in and listen to some sermons. It is very, very hard to understand. Even like David Reagan's probably the best that I've heard when it comes to the end time wars. He knows because there's so many wars you're trying to figure out how it's going and it's just really, really hard. And plus you're going through prophecy. You're talking about Ezekiel who's trying to prophesy this stuff. He didn't know what any kind of helicopters or B-52s or anything like that looked like.
Did you see the text from Mike Huckabee to Trump?
Mm-mm. No.
You need to read that. It's basically saying, that he's the ambassador for the U.S. to Israel, and he was telling him, he's proud to serve. And he said, you didn't seek this situation, but this situation sought you.
Absolutely. I don't know. It's just,
it was a beautiful text, and you could definitely tell the difference between what Ted Cruz was able or not able to portray to Tucker Carlson versus like the sincere Holy Spirit led text to the President of the United States.
That's right.
You know how we've said we don't know, is Trump the Antichrist? Mm-hmm. So and some people are saying Netanyahu might be the Antichrist.
No, I don't believe either one of them.
And then I don't either after hearing this. But he said we won't know who the Antichrist is. So Trump can't be. Mm-hmm. Netanyahu can't be.
Yeah.
And then people are saying, they're not perfect. They're not walking in the Spirit and all this stuff. And you're reminded of all the people that God used throughout the Bible who were not perfect.
That's right. To usher in what he needed,
Yeah. So.
Yep. I will say this right here. When I was talking about Ishmael, this really opened my eyes. I got this book, and it's called Praying the Names of God. It's really done great things for me. But there's a verse in here that just said, because Hagar is Ishmael's mom. Mm-hmm. And that's, kind of the opposite of Sarah and Isaac. And so Hagar named Yahweh, who had been speaking to her, because, she was sad. They took off running because, Sarah said, get out. You got to go. There's too many women in this tent, and too many sons here. And so This is really, really good. I read this. It says, the messenger of Yahweh talking about Hagar, found her by a spring in the desert, the spring on the way to Shur. He said, Hagar, Sarai's slave. That was before Sarah's name used to be Sarai. Where you have come from, and where are you going? She answered, I'm running away from my owner, Sarai. The messenger of Yahweh said, go back to your owner and place yourself under her authority. The messenger of Yahweh also said to her, I will give you many descendants. No one will be able to count them. We're talking about the Arabs and the Muslims, because there will be so many. Hagar named Yahweh, who had been speaking to her, you are El Roi, she said. This is the place where I watch the one who watches over me. And so that's what El Roi means, the one who watches over me, the one who knows everything about you. Yeah. God knows everything about you, even Hagar, even Ishmael, even the worst enemy. He knows everything about them. He sees you. He knows the numbers that are on your head. He sees you for who you are. I love it. Hagar's God is the one who numbers the hairs on the head and the one who knows our circumstances, past, present, and future. When you pray to El Roi, you are praying to the one who knows everything about you. I love that. That just is so, so good. So, this is just, I stayed so long on Elohim of praying the names. I just got on this next one. So you can get this on TikTok or Amazon, I think. It's just good to know the names of God. And the last thing I wanted to share was I don't think I brought the thing in, but I think it was on Amazon. The promises of God. For me, when life hits me, I need to know the promises of God. Because when somebody's down and out, I like to run to them, whether it be in their messages or whether it be to them in person, to remind them who they are, remind them of the promises of God. And so what I was finding was that I needed to know the promises of God too. And so I got these little cards, and they're just so good. The Lord stood with me and strengthened me, 2 Timothy 4:7. I mean, how many times do we have to stand for what we believe in? Mm-hmm. I like this one, too. This is kind of like what we're doing with our group. Let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, exhorting one another. He's always going to put people in your life that's going to push you or encourage you. If God is for us, who can ever be against us? And these are just promises. God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you will need to abound in every good work. So he has given you everything you need to share the gospel, to serve other people, to do everything. He's given you all you need. So these are just so good to be reminders of God's promises.
And then I wanted to share a little bit about Revelation 12. If you go back and go read this, because we've talked about the wars, understanding like when they mention the woman and the dragon and the male child and all that stuff, I think will help you. So a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars. This symbolism is often interpreted as representing Israel, the nation from which the Messiah came, or the church, the spiritual descendants of Israel. The dragon, a great red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns, represents Satan, the devil, who's also described as the ancient serpent. The male child, a son who is destined to rule all the nations. I truly believe it is
a great. I really do believe it's a red dragon.
Yeah.
I think it's a beast.
And then, it literally says beast, red dragon. It says all those things. And then the war in heaven, this is Michael and his angels fight against the dragon, and his angels ultimately casting the dragon and his angels out of heaven. So this represents the cosmic battle between good and evil and Christ's victory over Satan. The persecution of the woman, the dragon, after being cast out of heaven, persecutes the woman. This represents the ongoing persecution of the church and the believers throughout history. And then earth's help. This references the woman by swallowing the flood of water the dragon spews out, protecting her from the dragon's attack. So this represents God's provision and protection for his people in the midst of persecution. And then the remnant, the dragon goes off to make war with the rest of the woman's offspring, those who keep God's commandments and hold to the testimony of Jesus. So this represents the faithful believers who remain steadfast in their faith despite the persecution.
Well, the remnant, there's also a remnant that runs to Jordan or Petra.
Is that the 144? No.
No, that's just those are the people who are running out of, and they are protected. I totally believe that's the remnant that will be saved and will turn. But right now, people are turning and turning and turning to Jesus, and that's what we need to be praying for, is for the salvation of the people who are in Gaza, in Iran, everywhere. You want everyone to go to heaven, you know. So, it's tough out there. I mean, everybody's talking about this. It's everywhere. It's all the time. Everybody's talking about it. I mean, that's it. And now Iran's like threatening the U.S. and threatening with these little secret.
It does sound like we will be going to war.
Yeah, I think so. So
pray for our military. Pray for President Trump. Pray for Israel.
I saw a guy who is in the military, and he was showing his food that they had in the cafeteria. Did you see that? They're serving steak and crab legs, and he said, "Yep, we're going to war." He said, "Because we don't eat like this. We're going to eat good, and we're going to war." And I was like, and somebody said, "You got one crab leg, and you're going to war," because he only had one crab leg on his plate. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just my time of the world. I've always loved End of the World, and so not that it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. I mean, you know that song?
I have heard it.
Have you heard it? You want me to sing on? No, I'm just kidding.
I will not join in.
You don't want to sing harmony with me?
No.
But yeah, so I mean, our pastor's going to be teaching on it this week, so we'll learn more. But you know, it's like every week it's just something more and more. And me and David met with Mick and Teresa.
Okay.
And they are starting. You know, the early church in Acts, they didn't have any needs. They didn't have any wants. Everybody met everybody's needs and everything. And man, we're so far away from that. And so he's trying to get that started at our church, where we are just so into each other's needs and wants and cares that there's not, like, if something happens, where are you going to go? Do you have a plan? Like, if something happens, if there's a nuclear bomb or would you go to your church? I hope so. I hope everybody would go to their church. And there needs to be a plan. Like, I mean, most people would kind of just go and run and hide with their family. But I do believe that we need to set something up, that if something happens or if there's whatever, that you need to go to your church and set up not that you can't go back home, but I'm just saying, like, you need to get to your church and see what you're, like, I want to know what Pastor Lee wants me to do.
Yeah.
And I told him on Tuesday, I said, there's not anybody else that I would rather lead me through these end days than you. And I've been praying hard for him, and, because he's 78.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really, really scared. So, I hope you have a pastor. I hope you have a home that you can, you need your shepherd. And you need to pray for your pastors to lead you through this time. Because this is a time that, because they don't know. They don't know. He doesn't. I can imagine the weight of all of that, of your whole congregation being on your shoulders, of having to meet the needs of everybody in your home, and so in your church home.
Well, and if you want to learn more about Bible prophecy and you live in Winchester, our Sunday school class starts at 9:15.
It does. It's so good. 9:15 at Grace Bible, and then our service starts at 10:30. So, and he's going to be preaching this Sunday on what all's going on over there. And him and David Reagan call each other on the phone. It's really, really funny. They're great friends, and so it's just amazing that I feel like it's going to waken up all the pastors. I feel like this is why I feel like revival's coming, because we've waited for so long, for all this to start. And it's like birth pains. Have you ever seen a 9-month-old woman or that's getting ready to have a baby? Her birth pains, it says it will increase and intensify. Have you ever seen one just stop?
Mm-mm.
No. And we're not either. This is just where we are. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We hope that you dig in the Word. Remember God's promises, if you have to write them down on postcards or whatever. And start praying for people. Start praying and telling people about what's going on. They may look at you like you have three heads, but now the media is really starting to talk about the Middle East, and everybody's kind of having questions. So if you don't know, I mean, don't be like Ted Cruz, you got to know. And it's because, why are we with Israel? Is Israel always in the right? No. But God promised to bring them back into a nation. And that happened in 1948. And that was, that was a prophecy that was prophesied. The verse that says, can a nation become a nation in a day? Why, yes, it can. And that's Israel.
And how many days, how many years or days was it from? What was the 1260 days?
Oh, that's when the tribulation starts until the middle of the trib, and then same. So all that is like so calculated, but it is just so good to get in here and see all this happening. So, yeah. All right. Well, you have anything else?
Trying to wrap your head around it.
And you have even felt, you said, a drawing to know the word.
Well, come to find out, Christy's been praying for me to.
I've been writing it on my little card.
To have a desire.
Her the desire.
And so.
The desire for your word.
I've been in the Bible more. Mm-hmm. So.
I pray that for yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you find yourself like not ever wanting to read, Lord, give me the desire. That's his whole purpose. For you to know him and to make him known.
Yeah.
And so the only way you can know him is to get in his word.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, don't want to be here next week, but if we are here, we'll be here. Have a great week.